I've never like understood before the concept of the movie Taken. Like I've seen the movie Taken many times, obviously. But like, and if you haven't seen it, don't worry, I will tell you about it. That's like what I'll be doing up here mostly. But it's Liam Neeson, he has a young daughter, she gets taken, and he has to kick everyone to death in Eastern Europe to get her back. And right, and I was like, okay, that's too much kicking. And then like my cat sitter missed one feeding while I was on vacation recently, and I was like, I have a special set of skills. Just absolutely unhinged. Let's talk about Bobos for a second. That's abortions but fun. You know, that's just like a fun, like, keep it light, you know? Like I've never personally had an abortion, but like I donate to National Abortion Fund every month. Thank you so much. Because I think of abortions like nachos at TGI Fridays, you know? Like it's like, just get them for the table, you know? Somebody's gonna want one. Just get it, just have them. And it's always the person who's like, don't get them, we don't need them. Who's like, whoa, like as soon as the server comes by, they're like, oh, actually, I was gonna just sneak a nacho right there at the end. My friend sent me a TikTok recently that was like, it was entitled, Incels versus Sluts. Right? Thank you so much, Michelle. And it said, men do not want sluts. It was like this guy, he was like talking to the camera, he's like, men do not want sluts. As a retired slut, I can tell you, that is simply not true. Men love sluts. Sluts are by nature a social animal, you know? Beloved by many, cherished by none. It's a beautiful relationship with the world, to be honest with you. So that's not true. I didn't comment because like, I just, you know, I don't want to flirt with him or anything. So it made me start thinking though, like about porn that's being marketed for women. That's like a big thing right now, right? It's like porn for women, porn that women will like, porn that women are gonna like. And like, I don't watch porn, and it's not because I'm above porn. I prefer to get my rocks off with literature. Thank you. I just read a book where Captain Hook fingered Tinkerbell. So I'm absolutely next to porn. It's a lateral, you know, not above, just right there in the muck with everybody having a great time. But like, I don't know, I was like, what does porn for women look like? Is that like a man is like, okay, I'll make a dinner reservation at 7, and then he like, you know, shows up, and then the plan goes through, some kind of like sexy fantasy, you know? And like, or what is like DILF porn? That's like where the dad knows where like both kids' pediatricians are. I don't know, it's like as sexy as I can imagine. Or like GILF porn, grandpa porn, of course, the most popular porn category everybody loves. That's where like, I don't know, you all have dinner with your grandpa and your mom doesn't get upset. If you didn't laugh at that, congratulations on having at least one nice grandpa. I simply cannot relate to that. I say I'm retired from sluttery. I recently became the stepmother to a dog. Wow, I know, he's really cute. You might see him or you might not. I don't know, he's not on the lineup. But people say like, oh, you know, over time you grow to look like your dog. And I was like, well, I am not interested in waiting for that. So I immediately got bangs for the dog. When we walk down the street, people are always like, oh my God, amazing bangs. I'm like, thank you. And they're like, mm-hmm. They always mean him. He really, really kills it with those bangs. But recently, he had a little health scare, and he's fine. Like, I don't want the tension of this room to be like, is the dog okay? He's okay. But we had to take him to the vet, and I was like, oh my gosh, this dog has been like my boyfriend's rock, you know? Like, this dog means everything to my boyfriend, so I need to be strong and supportive and just like take care of him during this time. So the vet comes into the room and says, hey, so we're just gonna need to take the dog in the other room for blood work really quick. And I said, you're taking him away from us, and burst into tears. Supportively, strongly. So then eventually he like needs an MRI, which I don't know if you've ever had an MRI, but the cost is not different for a dog. They don't care that the spine is shorter, they do not care. And so he gets this MRI, we go in to talk to the vet, and the vet is like, So kind of like just looking through this, like for his age, his MRI is unremarkable. Thank you, right? First of all, fuck you. Second of all, let's try to have some remarks. This was really expensive, you know? We could just say something like, wow, what a handsome MRI, or like, oh, wow, this MRI seems so nice to have in bed at night. Like, anything, please. And that's what a comedian does when you don't remember the last. Okay, I remembered it. I spent COVID in New York City. Wow, thank you. She's a hero. Incredible. No, don't clap at 7 p.m. for me. So I was like in my little apartment in New York City, and it's like, you know, mental health was not at an all-time high. I kind of had a rough time during 2020. Wow, very unique, very alone in that way. And I started screwing up at work. Constantly, every screw up begat another screw up. So I was just like in a fuck up spiral, you know what I mean? And so my boss puts a meeting on my calendar, and his name is Greg, and that's like not his fault, but it is helpful for you to know. And Greg played sports in college, obviously. So I was like, Greg is gonna Vince Lombardi me like right out of this fuck up, you know? Like Greg is gonna help me get right out of this, right? And I know who Vince Lombardi is because I once saw a Broadway play called Lombardi starring the dad from The Wonder Years. He was wonderful. So Greg and I hop on our Zoom, and Greg is like, I'm like, Greg, I'm so sorry. I know I've been screwing up. And he said, yeah, everyone has noticed. Not one of Vince Lombardi's more famous speeches. Did not make the play. And he goes, but it's okay. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get you a printer. Thank you, that's the right face for that. And I thought to myself, I can think of one note I'm gonna print out of that printer and then never use it again. And so the next day I go to get a physical. And the doctor sits me down in the chair before we start, and she's like, before we get started, let's just like check in. How are you doing? And I said, well, Greg thinks I need a printer, and I don't know if the world's gonna open back up, and I'm just gonna be responsible for this printer forever. What if I break it and I have to tell Greg I broke a printer? And she was like, oh, okay, maybe instead of a physical, today we do kind of like a mental health check-in. Have you ever thought about going on Prozac? And I said, I don't think I need that. And she said, I'm sure you don't. Well, Prozac is a slow-release drug, as you know, and a printer takes 6 weeks in a supply chain situation. So they both hit around the same time, and I don't know which one did it, but I do want to really seriously address everybody in the room and say, if you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, please talk to somebody who can help you get a printer. Thank you guys so much.